Hey everyone, how's it going? Welcome back to another Walking Dead video. So in this one here, I want to talk about episode 23's trailer. There's actually a few things that I do want to talk about though regarding episode 21. There's some details that came out yesterday anyways regarding certain things with certain characters and yeah, I do want to get into that, but I also really want to focus in this video on, I guess, the one thing that we're all kind of waiting for, and that is Daryl going to find out that Rick Grimes is actually alive? Because you need to end the show in a way that really does satisfy, I think, old fans, new fans, or whatever, and I think you need to have Rick Grimes in some capacity connected to, I guess, The Walking Dead here in the final episode anyways. And if you don't have that in here, I really would consider it really an epic failure here of just handling this whole thing, to be honest. Like, I'm not saying he's going to show up. I don't see Rick showing up here unless there's like a final moments thing where he shows up. And I mean, that's the thing. If you do that, you might as well just do a post-credit scene, right? Like, that's kind of how I see it playing out anyways. I think Rick might show up in a post-credit scene, but you still need to have his presence felt in the last two episodes, or at least for sure before the show ends here, right? And I think the most important thing is for our characters to find out he's actually still alive. Like, that is such an important thing. And I really needs to be felt there in that last episode. Like, they need to know that he's out there in their spinoffs, right? I can't imagine those spinoffs really existing, but they still don't know he's alive. Like, that would be the most frustrating thing in the world. Honestly, I would be super frustrated with that, because then I don't know when they're ever going to find out, But we still have 2 more episodes, and so we'll deal with that if it actually does happen. If The Walking Dead airs, we watch episode 23 and 24, and there's nothing there of Rick, they all still believe he's dead, and they're going to spin-offs for unrelated reasons, yeah, then we can be upset about it. But I want to talk about this episode here, episode 23, because this could actually be a really big episode here where our characters do find out some really crazy information here. So before we go any further, obviously, please be aware that this video will contain spoilers for The Walking Dead season 11, episode 22. And also make sure to be a subscriber if you want to get all my Walking Dead content like this. This episode is titled Family. And I feel like that right there, I mean, it should really hint that this could be the moment where they actually do find out. Now, I don't think we have a lot of footage from episode 24. I really just don't think we have a lot of footage at all from episode 24. From any of the trailers that we've gotten so far, I think a lot of it is just maybe some stuff from later 23. There might be like one shot from 24, because I know sometimes they do that, but it's going to be so hard for us to really predict what that shot's going to be anyways. But this episode is a very big episode here, and I see a lot of excitement for episode 23 online right now, because I'm honestly, like, I just can't wait to see how they build this thing up here. Like, this is, like, I think episode 22 did such a great job. To be honest, I think it did a really great job in setting up, the end game here and sort of putting our characters in a position where this could actually end, like at the end of episode 23 even, right? Like this whole Commonwealth arc. I do think it's a little rushed, obviously, but I think that's sort of the general idea or general opinion out there from most fans right now. But I still think they're handling it pretty well, considering how much time that they had to actually handle this, right? I mean, it was their choice to do the Reaper arc, but I'm just saying, like, with what we've gotten with the Commonwealth arc, I think they've handled it overall really well. And so I just think 23, based off of where they're going, first of all, I think there's going to be some really big deaths. I think things could get really crazy here, and that's why the biggest question, I think, going into these next 2 episodes now, for sure, has to be, is Daryl going to be learning of Rick's survival? We've talked about this so much in the past, obviously, over the last, really since Rick left the show, we've been talking about it, but I would say mostly we've been talking about it since after Michonne left, because I think after Rick left, there was this idea that, well, eventually they'll find out, but it probably won't be for a very long time, and so there was some excitement there, but I don't think any of us had any expectation really of it happening soon. And then after Michonne left, there was a belief that those last episodes of season 10, Daryl could find out there. But of course, they didn't get into that. Judith has, for some reason, just held this a secret, and now we're at the moment here where you literally have 2 more episodes left. This has to be where we do find out, or where Daryl finds out, right? Like, this actually has to be the moment here. If you're not doing it here, when are you going to be doing it? And I think a big key to all of this is, where is Judith, right? Because Judith's whereabouts right now, I feel like is key to how all of this is going to be playing out here. Because it's not just Judith, it's Coco, a bunch of other characters are missing, RJ as well. I do believe they're going to find them in episode 23. There's that shot of Daryl, I believe he's holding Judith. And I think that's happening when they're running away from the walkers and maybe the Commonwealth and stuff like that. So, there's a bunch of stuff happening here. At some point, they're going to find them. I believe that's all going to happen, at some point midway through 23. I'm just wondering personally if this whole experience here for Judith, causes her to tell Daryl what's actually happening with her mom and her dad and stuff like that. Because I could see that being the case. I could see that, that experience being like, you know what, I have something to tell you. Like and then telling Daryl that my mom found some proof that my dad could be alive. And the thing is I want it to be a little bit more concrete than that. You know what I mean? Like, from what Michonne knows, Michonne just knows that, his boots and certain belongings were found in a ship far away, which basically confirms that he did survive the blast. Yes, he did survive that bridge explosion for sure. But besides that, she still, I think Michonne has that question of like, well, where is he still? Right? Like, is he in this location? Like, where is he? And that's the thing, if Daryl finds that out, what is Daryl going to do? Go look at the same things? Like, Michonne actually has the phone. She actually has logs and stuff to where this boat came from and stuff. So, like, she actually has a lead. Daryl doesn't. So there needs to be a lot more there in terms of when he finds out, even if Judith does tell him, Daryl needs to know more. The one thing about it, though, is I feel like, Angela Kang will probably just put it in there that Judith knows a lot more than we heard in that scene. Like, there might just be this assumption that they've talked or something at some point or whatever, and they'll just do something like that. Just because that's actually happened. And that's where I want to get into some of this stuff here. So in terms of the CRM appearing and all of that, it's really hard to say whether or not it's actually going to be happening here on the show, but there's so much proof of their existence here. And I'm not backing down from this. I really do believe that they are hinting at it here because there's so many lines of dialogue. There's so many hints and teases at this that just because some of the stuff at the, with the camp and with the warden and stuff like that has seemingly ended, the Tyler Davis stuff has kind of ended, there is some stuff here where it does seem like there is still a connection of the people going into camps and all that and the people going to the Civic Republic. Because in episode 21, and I totally missed this dialogue here, and I'll leave a link here to the article here from comicbook.com because they actually have the dialogue here written out. And this is actually happening here where Daryl and Carol are actually looking at the train and Connie is there and they're about to take Connie somewhere. And we've talked about this before, whether or not Connie was actually about to be taken to the Civic Republic. The first trooper, so there's two troopers here. There's trooper number 1 and trooper number 2. Trooper number 1 is he actually says, a guy's saying I have to put an exile on here. It's a cargo transport and against regs, over. Trooper number 2 says it's been cleared from up on high. She's not going to be a worker. She's designation 2. Trooper number 1 just like, oh, and then number 2 just kind of says, like, yeah, exactly. Get her there safely. So right there, she's not going to be a worker. So Connie, I believe at this point was actually going to be sent to Civic Republic because there's a line later on, and the article also talks about that too here, where he actually talks with Daryl about, where the train is going. And he says, I've only heard rumors about designation 2. They're taken somewhere far away. They're never seen again. And you just think of who Connie is, it makes so much sense that Connie would be taken to the Civic Republic because she's not going to be a test subject. She's going to be somebody who can actually contribute to the Civic Republic. They're going to find her very valuable there, right? I believe she is a leader, just like Rick was a leader. And I can totally see them, especially because of that line there where it says it's been cleared from up high. Like, she's not going to be a worker. She's designation 2. That right there tells me so much. Just that simply right there tells me a lot. I do believe this is Civic Republic related. Like, I feel like this is so simple here. I don't think we need to complicate this any more than that. I do believe it's Civic Republic related. Now, the question though is, are we going to see that though on the show, right? Like, that's the question I have is like, yes, they're hinting at this stuff here. Lance has said some stuff about, alliances that they have, this and that. We've heard of a lot of things over quite a while, but it's just, are they going to get into it here in the last couple of episodes or last 2 episodes? Or is this just like world building dialogue, right? Like, that's the one thing I'm definitely a little upset about is it kind of feels like it could be. Like, it kind of feels like these are just lines of dialogue that, in the spinoffs and stuff like that, when they eventually find the Civic Republic in the spinoffs, we can look back and be like, oh, see, they hinted at it here a little bit. Like, I'm just kind of worried about that. I don't want that to be the case here. I want this to actually contribute to something here, I want, if there is the post-credit scene, if there's anything like that, I want it to actually make sense. I want it to overall add to the story here. And, I feel like maybe that's what they're doing. Maybe the show's just going to end or something's going to happen. And then we're going to see something where the Commonwealth is taking somebody to designation 2. They actually go there. And then when we're at designation 2, maybe literally Rick is there. And then that's the post-credit scene where it shows Rick was there sort of thing, right? Like, I wonder if that's the connection that they're just going to be doing here, and this is just sort of some dialogue setting that moment up. Like, it's possible. We'll have to wait and see. But yeah, again, I still... these two big questions here, not even necessarily the Civic Republic, because the Civic Republic, like, the awareness of them will happen as soon as they know that Rick's alive. Once they find out Rick's alive, they're going to know what happened, basically. They can pretty much figure it out right away. Yeah, that's just a question. And I think that's actually a question that we should all have going into these last 2 episodes here. Will this actually happen now, right? Because we're at that moment where it's like, you know, I could see going into part 3 being like, is it going to happen in 19? Or in 20, 21, 22, and then we've watched every episode, nothing has happened. Well, now we're at the end here. Now we're literally with 2 episodes left, and yeah, I just think that they need to get into this now, and that's the one thing that I actually wanted to talk about here a little bit, and I'll get into this because I know this video is getting kind of long, but I actually wanted to talk about, you know, whether or not characters were sort of happy or satisfied with their endings, because that is something that, you know, based off of just where the story is at, with the amount of cast members that they have on the show right now, a lot of characters aren't going to be, you know, are not characters, but cast members, I don't think are going to be completely happy with their characters ending because of how much they are kind of ignoring characters. And this is why I think you need to kill more characters off. It's crazy that they don't. I don't understand why they don't, but this is the problems that you run into when you just refuse to kill off your characters. Like, you just have too much, then you just kind of ignore a bunch of characters. I'll leave a link down below if you actually want to check out the exact quote and everything from Khary Payton. Definitely go check it out. Like, he goes into it quite a bit. It's actually a pretty awesome interview here. There's a lot of stuff that happens here with Khary Payton, and he talks about Negan. He talks about his character. He talks about the ending, this and that. So, but Khary Payton is unhappy with his character's ending. Like, he was actually saying that he's very unsatisfied or he's unhappy or whatever with his character's ending. You know, that does suck. I feel like that is something that is just... It was going to happen, right? With the amount of characters that are on the show here. He did say that he would, like, he hopes that his character survives the next 2 episodes. I mean, obviously he knows whether or not he does survive, but he has to say that for now, just because maybe he doesn't have to do flashbacks and stuff like that if he ever wants to return as Ezekiel. Maybe he can actually continue his story and do something else. And I would love that. I would love to have Ezekiel come back in some way. And I guess that's a question I have for you guys is like, if he was to return, would you want him to have his own spinoff? I mean, I don't think that would really work necessarily, unless you want to give it to a bunch of other characters. But I feel like if anything, just have Ezekiel join one of the other spinoffs, right? I think that could make a lot of sense. Maybe you can do a Carol and Ezekiel spinoff, right? Like, I think that's possible, although I think Carol is going to be going to the Daryl show. So, yeah, but I don't think it's going to be happening until, like, season 2 or something like that. I don't think it's going to be a season 1 thing. But, yeah, anyways, I just wanted to give my thoughts here on some stuff. Episode 23 is 6 days away. I'm definitely very excited. So, post all your thoughts down below. Hope you guys all enjoyed the video, and I'll see you guys in the next one.